Hi everyone. I am here today with Dr. Peter Afflerbach, one of the most amazing minds in education and also someone that I admire as a colleague and friend to be here to talk about contextualizing the science of reading, or as he likes to say, sciences of reading. If you don't know Peter or Dr. Afflerbach, he was a K-6 reading teacher for a while, back in the day, as you say, which laid the foundation and groundwork for the rest of his work as an educator. He is steeped deeply in the research. We depend and rely so much on his research over these years. The things that Peter has really researched deeply are reading comprehension strategies, development of metacognitive strategies, and the others, as he calls them, such as self-efficacy. And he'll talk more about those others today, I'm sure, because it's important in our conversation. He is a member of, was selected as to the Reading Hall of Fame, which just totally makes sense and doesn't surprise me, but I love that it's true. And also he is an AERA research fellow. And I'm so happy to be here with you today, Peter. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
So contextualizing the science of reading. We know that this has been a hot topic and big conversation for a while now. And I think with, as we say in education, the pendulum swings and so on, but we want to hold on to those parts that are really important about all the pendulum swings, right, even as it swings, right? Yeah. So one thing that I was drawn to immediately when you started to talk about the science of reading is that you make it plural. You say the sciences of reading. Can you share with us why?
Yeah, of course. Well, I love the idea that our classroom instruction, how we think about teaching well and how students grow as readers is informed by our theories, and that those theories are informed by scientific research. That's how it should be. My concern with the singular science of reading is that it's restricted to a view of cognition and how kids grow their strategies and skills under the umbrella of cognition. And
can I pause you?
Yeah.
So for those of us who aren't sure exactly what the word cognition means, yeah, we probably are familiar with it, but may not be using the term and the definition well. Could you share what you mean by that?
Well, cognition is about how people think. It's about how they learn and how they grow. Mm-hmm. And related to reading and the singular science of reading, cognition focuses on the big five, phonemic awareness and phonics and fluency and vocabulary and comprehension. And given that I've spent decades looking at reading comprehension strategies, I'm the first one to say that the science of reading and those strategies and skills, they're essential for successful reading. And so it's essential that we teach them for developing readers so that they can become successful and independent. On the other hand, I am worried that the science of reading leads us into a cul-de-sac would be the fancy word, but a dead end would be, I think, a more appropriate word, because I know that when I was teaching K-6, and I often taught struggling readers in the early grades, their lives as readers could not be described only by talking about their strategy and skill development or the lack of that development. I worked with kids who had difficulty becoming motivated to read, and those kids were often disengaged or unengaged from reading, from discussing what was read, from school in general. And there were also kids that I worked with who lacked what is called self-efficacy. And that is, that really focuses on, do kids believe in themselves? And do they see themselves as individuals who can succeed, Or do they think that they will not succeed no matter what they do? And of course, when you're in a position where you don't believe in yourself and you don't believe that you can succeed, it's really hard to get motivated and it's really hard to apply effort. So it turns out that self-efficacy, motivation and engagement, metacognition, attribution theory are really deep and broad sciences that have a lot to tell us about being successful in teaching reading. And so my concern with the science of reading is that it's not broad enough in how it conceptualizes kids and how they grow or don't grow. And so if I can bring the plural in, if I can bring sciences in instead of science of reading, I'm not only going to be focused on reading strategies and skills, but in terms of self-efficacy, I'm going to make sure that my students experience success, because success is something that helps even the most reluctant reader start believing that they can succeed. I want to focus on motivation and engagement, because all of us who teach know that the best laid plans, the best lesson plans ever created aren't worth a hill of beans if the children are not motivated and engaged. And I can go on and on with this, but I guess my last point would be around metacognition. And we know that to be truly successful as a reader, you have to be independent. And to be independent as a reader, you must be metacognitive. And the fact that metacognition seems to be missing in how the science of reading is described is just, it's a shame to me. Think about the readers in our classrooms who succeed. They are highly metacognitive because they're able to set plans, they're able to monitor their progress, look at how the comprehension's going. And the kids who are not metacognitive are the ones who often wander off task, and they're always dependent on us to tell them how they're doing. So
Yes.
all of these things, I'll just do it one more time: motivation and engagement, self-efficacy, metacognition, attributions, they are all sciences that are affiliated with reading. And I believe that including them in how we conceptualize good teaching and how we conceptualize student growth is essential for
Yes.
success.
Yes. And I think what you're also saying is we have a wide playing field here of possibilities of reaching readers and supporting them in their reading growth. And when we start to eliminate the possibilities of other sciences, whether it is phonemic awareness and phonics, whether it's fluency, comprehension, any of the parts that you've noticed or noted, we end up really missing out on something important for students. And so I think you are holding a really inclusive view of what we can use to support student readers, and also creating the space for the practice of finding what's most needed for each student as
Yeah.
they learn, but by well-informed research.
Yeah, and I would let me try to contextualize this. I think about some of the fourth graders that I have worked with over my career, struggling fourth graders, and some fourth graders be 10 or 11 years old. But if you're in fourth grade, you will have been in school for 5 years, if you count kindergarten. And if you're a struggling fourth grade reader, it could well be the fact that you've spent half your life in school in a group that's been labeled low performing or whatever, whether it's birds or whatever, kids figure out what group they're in. And after 5 years or half of my life as a fourth grader, I might tend to not believe in myself as a reader. I might not have any self-efficacy. And so if if my instruction consists of, you need to go back to go over the things that you have not yet succeeded in, and my instruction is related only to that, I'm not addressing the fact that this child has grown to not believe in herself or himself or their self. And I can't imagine my instruction being successful without paying attention to these other things. Now, I understand that asking anyone in the classroom to take on more in addition to strategy and skill instruction, may seem like a fool's errand. But what I've experienced in the clinics that I've directed and the classrooms where I've taught is that if you help a struggling reader turn around, for example, a struggling reader start to believe in himself, that means that you also can jumpstart motivation and engagement, and you can help change the mindset of that student to one of like, maybe I should give some more effort, since in the last month I've given effort and it has resulted in success. I mean, these experiences are things that we remember, and we build our future, performance or willingness to perform on them. So making sure that, like whether it's a fourth grader or second grader, it's not just the strategy and skill toolkit that they bring, it's the amassed experiences that could be negative or positive. And if we ignore them, I think we miss a real big opportunity to make our instruction more effective.
Mhm. Absolutely. Well, how about we zoom in on one of the big areas of study for you, one of the big areas of research, self-efficacy.
Yeah.
And I know that it's used in many different professions and many different contexts. So my question is two-part. One, could you give us a definition of self-efficacy? And two, how do teachers begin that process of teaching self-efficacy?
Okay. Well, I would say a short explanation of self-efficacy in reading is the reader's belief that he or she or they will succeed at a reading task. And I could give you an example of where I don't feel very efficacious, where I don't have self-efficacy. It's when I have to go in person to the Department of Motor Vehicles, because I haven't had a lot of success experiences there. Like sometimes I'll get into what I think is the right line, and then I, wait 40 minutes, and then I get to the window and they say, you're in the wrong line. And then I'll go back to the info person and they'll say, you need this form, but it's not the right form. So I get sort of anxious whenever I have to go to the Department of Motor Vehicles, because my prior experiences have not been successful. So I don't believe I have control over things. And I think most adults try to structure their lives so that they have ultimate control and avoid such situations.
Yes.
So imagine a kid who fails or does not succeed more frequently than succeeds in reading or in school in general. Their belief in self will be diminished or it will be absent. Mm-hmm. And when this is where the sciences come in, if you study the science of self-efficacy, it's really hard to invest an ounce of effort if you believe that that effort will not yield results, that you don't believe you'll be successful. Mm-hmm. So to not attend to kids' self-efficacy and not try to build it in a positive way seems to me a missed opportunity. There are some theorists who say things like this, that the ability to do something is important, but if you don't believe that you have the ability to do something, then it will not really work out for you at all. Yeah. And a way around this in the classroom is to help kids who lack self-efficacy experience success. So there's this old saying, nothing succeeds like success, which I believe is pretty much true. Yes. And you have to have kids experience success if they want to build self-efficacy. If they continually experience failure or just partial success, it's going to be really hard for them to fully believe in their ability to control the situation and succeed. And again, that goes back to something we could all relate to, which might be a visit to the Department of Motor Vehicles, or playing tennis against somebody who is so much better than you.
That's my thing.
Or trying a recipe where like people are coming over for dinner and you're trying a new recipe and you're like, oh, maybe I should have stuck with the lasagna. I don't know.
Right. So yeah, that's a really practical and important first step in bringing that experience of self-efficacy to the classroom and thinking about how much that will benefit readers who haven't experienced that sense
Yeah.
of self-efficacy.
Yeah, and as I'm just reflecting on what I said, I'm trying to be a little metacognitive here. It's important for the teacher to point out to students how their effort and how they're trying is leading to a positive outcome, because we know, like, a lot of struggling readers, they're so fully involved with, like, just trying to decode something or string sentences together or make inferences, that some of the good that they do may go unnoticed by the readers themselves because everything's fully involved. So if as teachers we think aloud and we point out areas of success and areas of effort, that all sums to a better sense of self-efficacy for most students.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for helping us contextualize the sciences of reading,
Sure.
and knowing that there are many within the one, and helping us also dig into this concept of self-efficacy and the importance of it. I just want to point out that I am waiting in great anticipation for the book that will be coming out from you in December. It's like the perfect holiday gift.
Well, I don't know about that, but
for educational
oh,
nerds like
okay.
me.
Yeah.
So the title of that is teaching reading. I'm sorry, teaching readers, not teaching reading.
Right.
Yeah, really
And the idea
centering.
there is, when we teach reading, we tend to look at the cognitive strategies and skills, and we chop them up into lesson length opportunities for kids to learn, and that's worked for a lot of kids. But when we teach readers, we pay attention to the bigger being, the reader who may or may not be motivated, who may or may not have self-efficacy, and who may or may not be metacognitive.
Yes, so it's human teaching.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, Peter.
Sure. My pleasure.